I was the real heiress in a switched-at-birth scandal. The girl who took my place grew up rich, gorgeous, and beloved. I grew up in the woods. She became the golden daughter of an old money family. I learned to escape from things that weren't alive anymore. She built a glittering future. I was surrounded by ghosts. And on the day she finally made it to the altar in a designer wedding gown, I cut straight through the train with my blade and said,
"There's a spirit clinging to you. You're welcome."
She stared at me.
What?
My name is May, and on my 18th birthday, my mother told me my birth parents had finally come to claim me. Not my real mother, the woman who raised me, the one who found me as a baby and kept me, the one who taught me how to survive. Her name was Rowena Ash, and if you asked the people in the nearest town, they'd call her a recluse, a strange woman, a forest witch, a warning. They weren't completely wrong. Rowena lived alone in a weather-beaten house at the edge of an ancient forest, with drying herbs hanging from the rafters, iron charms nailed over doors, and enough salt stored in the kitchen to survive both winter and demons. She was the last daughter of an old hidden witch line, one of the ones that survived the burnings by disappearing into the woods and never coming back out. And then one day, after 18 years of raising me, she looked up from the kitchen table and said,
"Your birth family found you."
That was it. No drama, no trembling voice, no tears, just truth, as always. By sunset, I was leaving the forest behind and getting into a car with two rich strangers who looked at me like I was both a miracle and a crime scene. My birth parents were Richard Whitmore and Evelyn Whitmore. Elegant, wealthy, carefully dressed, the kind of people who smelled expensive, the kind of people who had never chopped wood in the snow or cleaned blood out of floorboards after a spirit fight.
"Hello,"
I said politely.
"Father, Mother."
Rowena always said manners cost less than trouble. My mother burst into tears on the spot. She threw her arms around me and sobbed into my shoulder like she'd been waiting 18 years for permission to fall apart. "My baby," she cried. "My poor baby. This is my fault. You should never have had to suffer." I didn't know what to do with crying women. Ghosts were easier. At least ghosts usually had the decency to be honest about wanting something. Still, I didn't pull away. Patience, Rowena liked to say, was cheaper than conflict, so I sat through the drive to the Whitmore estate and listened while they explained how they'd found out. The daughter they raised, Chloe Whitmore, had gotten sick. Not normal sick, wrong sick. A long stretch of fainting spells, nightmares, strange symptoms, endless tests. Eventually, something in the medical records didn't add up. And once one thing broke, everything did. She wasn't their biological child. I was. They told me Chloe was still living with them, that they still loved her, that they weren't throwing her out, that they hoped I could understand. If I couldn't, they said, I only had to say the word. I said I didn't mind. And I meant it. Mostly. Rowena taught me that people were rarely evil in the ways they feared they were. Messy, yes. Cowardly, yes. Blind, often. But love, even misplaced love, was still love. The only thing I refused was when they suggested I change my name. No. May was mine. I had lived with it in the woods, in storms, in ritual circles, and under Rowena's roof. I wasn't about to trade it for something prettier just because rich people liked symmetry. The Whitmore estate was ridiculous. Not just rich, old money rich. The kind of place where the walls looked inherited, not purchased. The kind of mansion that had portraits, staff, and an iron gate that probably cost more than an average house. Evelyn squeezed my hand as we stepped inside. "May," she said softly, "you're home." That was when I saw her. A girl in a pale pink dress stood in the foyer waiting for us. Beautiful, delicate, perfectly styled. The kind of girl magazines described as luminous. This was Chloe Whitmore, the daughter they raised, the girl who had been living my life. She smiled the second she saw me, warm, welcoming, a little fragile.
Mom, Dad,
Her gaze shifted to me.
this must be May.
Then she came forward, took my hand, and said in the gentlest voice imaginable,
I'm so glad they found you.
and then she started crying. Immediately. I had been in the house less than 3 minutes. This did not feel promising. Also, her hand was cold. Not nervous cold, not air conditioning cold, dead cold. I looked closer. There it was, a smear of darkness twined around her shoulders and throat like smoke. A curse tether, ugly, hungry, and old enough to be dangerous.
You're not sick.
I said. She blinked.
I'm sorry?
You're cursed.
Silence. Then she laughed once, very faintly, as if maybe I was joking. I wasn't. She searched my face for humor and didn't find any. Evelyn stepped between us instantly. All right, she said too brightly. That's enough excitement for one day. May, let me show you your room. Chloe, sweetheart, go rest. Chloe smiled again, but this time I felt her fingers tighten before she let go of my hand. I said nothing. There was no point. If she kept wearing that curse, she'd figure it out soon enough, if it didn't kill her first. My new bedroom was larger than Rowena's entire house. It also looked like someone had decorated it by asking, what if a cloud married a chandelier? Too many sheer curtains, too many soft fabrics, too much white. I hated almost all of it. But I unpacked without complaint. Shelter first, opinions later. That was another Rowena rule. Once I was alone, I opened my trunk and took out my supplies. Sigil papers, warding charms, ink, salt, iron nails. Protection first, questions later. If these people were my family now, then cursed heiress or not, I wasn't about to let something dark settle in comfortably. Dinner that night was overwhelming in every possible way. Too much food, too much silver, too much emotional tension. On the bright side, there was meat, a lot of meat. That alone improved my mood. Back in the woods, meat had been occasional. Here it seemed to appear just because people were feeling festive. I could adapt. Chloe smiled sweetly across the table and put food on my plate.
I hope that's all right.
She said.
We didn't know what you liked, so the cook made all my usual favorites. I figured girls our age probably like the same things.
I kept eating. It was good food. Better than conversation. Richard asked,
May, do you want one of us to take you to Blackthorn University tomorrow?
I had gotten in on my own, Rowena insisted. If I was going to live among people, she said, I needed to know how they lied in broad daylight. Philosophy seemed close enough. Before I could answer, Chloe jumped in.
If I were feeling better, I'd love to show her around. Introduce her to people. Make sure she settles in.
You're not sick.
I said again. This time the tears came faster.
Do you hate me?
She asked, voice trembling.
Why do you keep saying that?
I stared at her. Then I said very calmly,
Because you're cursed.
A hush fell over the entire table. I kept eating. No one else did. Eventually, I finished, set down my fork, and stood.
Thank you for dinner.
I said. Then I pulled out the warding charms I'd made and placed one in front of each of them.
These are for protection.
They all looked at the little charms like I had just handed them live snakes. To their credit, no one refused. I nodded, satisfied, and left the room. As I went upstairs, I heard Chloe whisper behind me.
Is she okay?
Richard gave a strained cough.
She had an unusual upbringing.
That was one word for it. The next morning, I told my parents I could handle orientation alone. Chloe came anyway. Of course she did. She watched me the whole drive like I might suddenly transform into a woodland animal and bolt through the windshield. Right before we reached campus, she grabbed my wrist.
The charm,
She said.
the one you gave me.
I looked at her. She looked pale, tired, less polished than yesterday. Good. Fear did wonders for honesty,
I slept.
she said.
For the first time in months, I actually slept.
I waited. She swallowed.
No nightmares. No waking up gasping. No, whatever has been happening to me.
I leaned back in my seat.
Yes.
Her eyes widened.
Yes, what?
Yes, the charm worked. Yes, you're cursed. Yes, I know what I'm talking about.
She stared at me for a long second, then
Oh,
I almost felt bad for her. Almost.
There's something latched onto you.
I said.
A dark working, probably anchored through a personal object, jewelry, hair, something that belonged to you.
Her face went paper white.
Am I dying?
Not today.
Not the most comforting answer, maybe, but an honest one. She pulled in a shaky breath.
What do I do?
Think, last 6 months. Did anyone give you something strange?
She frowned.
Nothing strange exactly. But my birthday gifts. There were hundreds.
I closed my eyes briefly. Of course there were,
You're very popular.
I said flatly. She gave me a nervous little smile.
I know.
I said nothing. What was there to say to that? At orientation, I signed forms, collected packets, and discovered that Chloe really was the kind of person everyone knew. Girls hugged her. Boys hovered around her. Upperclassmen greeted her by name. Professors smiled at her. It was fascinating, like watching a social spell in motion. And the entire time she followed me around like I had become her private emergency exit. By the end of the day, I was certain of one thing. If I didn't help her, she was probably going to die. If I did help her, she was definitely going to become annoying. Life was full of trade-offs. The moment I finished at Blackthorn, Chloe shoved me into a car and had the driver take us straight home. Once there, we went through every gift she'd gotten in the last year. I used a tracing sigil. The results were immediate. 3 objects lit up with the same rotten pulse, 2 stored gifts. 1 bracelet Chloe had been wearing every day, all from the same person. Whoever had done this hadn't left it to chance. They wanted her weakened, slowly, completely. Chloe saw the sender information and went still. That told me enough. Someone important, someone close, someone who would hurt. She left for an hour. When she came back, her eyes were red, her makeup was gone, and whatever softness she usually used to cushion herself from reality had vanished.
Can you fix it?
She asked.
Yes,
I said. Hope flashed in her face. Then I added,
for $888.
She stared.
You charge?
I stared back.
You thought I did professional curse breaking for free?
No,
She fumbled for her phone so fast she nearly dropped it.
Sorry. Of course you charge. That makes sense. Is 888 enough?
For this, yes, family rate.
She sent the money immediately. Then, after a beat, she asked.
So what do more serious cases cost?
I considered.
1888, 2888, 5888, depends how ugly it is.
She blinked.
May, are you broke?
I'm building something
What?
back in the forest.
That answer clearly did not satisfy her, but she let it go. Mostly because I had already started laying out the cursed objects in a circle. I marked a reveal sigil over them and fed the working a drop of blood. A red thread shivered into the air. Chloe gasped.
Oh my God.
That,
I said.
leads to whoever anchored the curse.
She squared her shoulders immediately.
I'm coming with you.
You'll slow me down.
We can drive.
That will still slow me down.
What could possibly be faster than a car?
I hit the quick-step charm and disappeared. Her scream echoed behind me. Very loud, very theatrical, completely predictable. I still ended up taking her. Not because I wanted to. Because she called me so many times in a row, I started considering ritual murder. The red thread led us to an apartment building in a part of town that smelled like old rain and bad choices. The second Chloe saw the unit number, all the color drained out of her face.
I know who lives here.
She whispered. I looked at her. She swallowed.
It's Sabrina.
Sabrina who?
Sabrina Cole, my best friend.
Ah, that explained everything. We slipped onto the balcony and listened through the cracked door. Inside, Sabrina was pacing with her phone pressed to her ear. Why didn't it work last night? She hissed. She was still wearing the bracelet? Why didn't I get anything? A pause, then sharper. Burned? What do you mean burned? Good. That meant one of my charms had done more damage than I thought. Sabrina listened, then muttered, "Fine, I'll add another one tonight." I moved for the bedroom. Chloe grabbed my sleeve.
Wait, she won't see us?
Stay close.
Why?
Concealment ward.
Her eyes lit up.
You can do that?
I gave her a long look. The situation had somehow become life-threatening and exciting for her at the same time. This girl had no survival instincts at all. I already knew what I'd see before she opened it. Poppets, dozens of them. Hex dolls stitched and pinned and fed with blood. She took out one half-finished doll, tied a piece of hair into it, pricked her finger, and smeared blood over the fabric chest. Chloe went rigid beside me.
What is that?
A blood-bound poppet.
Her breath caught. There were more than 10 in the box, some old, some fresh, all ugly. Before I could stop her, Chloe lunged forward, ripped the doll from Sabrina's hand, and slammed it to the floor. Then she started stomping on it in heels. Sabrina screamed, "What the hell, Chloe?"
What the hell, you?
Chloe shot back.
What is wrong with you?
Sabrina backed away, face white with panic. Then anger replaced it, fast. "I don't know what you're talking about." Chloe ripped open the box and flung dolls everywhere.
These?
She shouted.
I'm talking about these.
That did it. The mask came off, and what was underneath wasn't pretty. Sabrina's face twisted. "I hated you," she said. "Do you know that? I hated you for years." Chloe stared at her. Sabrina kept going. "Your clothes, your smile, your perfect little fake kindness. Giving me things you didn't want like that made us equal. They were new. Oh, please, everything about you was humiliating."
I was your friend.
"No," Sabrina snapped. "You were a spotlight, and everyone around you disappeared in it." Then came the real reason. It always did. "Even Ethan," she said bitterly. "I knew him first. He looked at me first, and then you showed up and suddenly it was all about you." Chloe stared.
Ethan Brooks?
Sabrina laughed like she might break her own teeth. "Yes, Ethan Brooks, the one you didn't even want."
I rejected him.
"Exactly!" Sabrina screamed. "You got to reject him and still be chosen. Do you have any idea what that feels like?" Then she grabbed a knife. That part was rude. I dropped the concealment ward, stepped between them, kicked her wrist hard enough to send the knife flying, and knocked her unconscious before she got another bright idea. She hit the floor. Chloe stared at her, then at me, then back at Sabrina.
Is she dead?
"No."
Are you sure?
"Yes."
Should we make sure?
I turned slowly to look at her. She held up both hands.
Just asking.
I collected every poppet in the apartment, every charm, every bit of anchor material, every trace of blood magic I could find. Before we left, Chloe pointed at Sabrina's unconscious body.
So, what happens to her?
I filed a report.
With who?
The Bureau of Unnatural Affairs.
She blinked.
There's an actual government bureau for cursed dolls and blood magic?
Yes,
That is both comforting and deeply upsetting.
that's because you think too much and too little at the same time.
She frowned.
I don't even know what that means.
I didn't explain. Back at the estate, I sat in the garden and dismantled the workings one by one, while Chloe hovered nearby, emotionally unstable and extremely talkative.
Do you think this is my fault?
She asked after a while.
No.
But what if I made her feel small?
She offered blood to a curse.
I said.
That was a choice. You are not responsible for every broken thing that decides to envy you.
She was quiet for a moment. Then she asked,
Can she be saved?
Probably.
By you?
No.
That seemed to upset her more than if I had said no outright. Then, very softly, she said,
When Mom and Dad told me I wasn't really theirs, I cried all night.
I didn't answer. She kept talking anyway.
I was terrified. Not just of losing them, of losing everything. The house, the money, the life. Even before you got here, I was trying to figure out whether I should hate you first, just to protect myself.
I looked up. She was digging the toe of one shoe into the grass.
But then I kept thinking, all of this was yours,
She said.
I got it by accident. And maybe I got too used to it.
Finally, she looked at me.
Does that make me awful?
I thought about it. Then I said,
A little.
She burst into tears. Again. I sighed, took out another warding charm and handed it to her.
Here.
Her tears stopped so fast it was honestly impressive.
You do like me,
I didn't say that.
but you gave me a charm.
That's because you're still cursed adjacent and emotionally fragile.
She grinned at me through damp lashes.
Same difference.
She tried to hug me. I quick-stepped 3 feet to the left. She nearly fell into a rose bush. Worth it. After that, Chloe took it upon herself to become my unofficial marketing department. Not everyone believed in spirits, but rich people believed in bad luck. And old money women especially believed in protection, discretion, and paying large amounts of money to make sure their enemies were cursed first. So business improved. Not quickly, but steadily. Apparently, the reclaimed Whitmore heiress who grew up in the woods and can see the dead was a surprisingly marketable identity. Chloe also informed me that my parents were planning a formal society event to introduce me properly.
Think of it as a launch party.
She said.
I hate that sentence.
You'll hate the guest list more.
She was right. The event was enormous. My mother dressed me herself. I chose black. She rejected it instantly. Chloe helped. That should tell you how badly the process went. By the time they were finished, I was in a pale silk gown that felt both too expensive and too exposed, with my hair pinned up and my face painted in ways I deeply distrusted. Still, they looked happy, so I endured it. The reception was full of polished strangers, expensive laughter, and the kind of smiles people wear when they're mentally calculating social value. I stayed near the food. That was where I was happiest. Then Chloe came gliding over in something sparkling and dangerous-looking, grabbed my arm and hissed,
Time to meet people.
No.
Yes,
I'm eating.
you can eat after you meet investors, heirs, and potential clients.
That almost changed my mind. Almost. Then she leaned in closer and whispered,
Have you seen anyone cursed yet?
I opened my mouth to say no. Then I saw the girl in red, and immediately changed my answer.
Yes.
I said.
Her.
Chloe followed my gaze and swore under her breath.
Oh no,
What?
that's Audrey Sinclair.
The way she said it told me everything. Rival, social enemy, long-term nuisance. Excellent. Audrey reached us with the kind of smile that was more threat than greeting.
So, she said, looking me over, the lost Whitmore daughter finally appears.
Then she turned to Chloe.
How does it feel knowing none of this was ever really yours?
Chloe smiled sweetly.
How does it feel still being this obsessed with me?
Audrey ignored that and looked at me again.
Careful around her.
She said.
Girls like Chloe don't surrender privilege gracefully.
You've got a dead girl hanging off your shoulder.
I said.
And she looks like you.
Audrey froze. Just for a second. Then she snapped,
You're insane.
and walked away much too fast. Chloe stared after her.
Was that real?
Yes.
A ghost that looks like Audrey?
Yes,
That feels bad.
it is.
Chloe turned to me, eyes wide.
I knew something was wrong with her.
You did?
She disappeared for about a month after graduation,
Chloe said.
then came back different. Still mean, but wrong. Softer in some places, sharper in others, and a few times at school I could have sworn she was talking to empty air.
Interesting. Very interesting. I looked toward the door Audrey had just disappeared through.
I need to visit the Sinclairs.
Chloe groaned, then brightened.
I'll come.
No,
I know the house.
that's worse.
You still need me.
That was unfortunately true. I hated when she was useful. The Sinclair estate was, somehow, even more dramatic than ours.
Why do you know this house so well?
I asked, as Chloe led me upstairs like she'd helped pick the wallpaper.
Our mothers are friends.
I stared at her. She winced.
Socially, not emotionally.
That explained nothing, but we were already moving. By the time we reached Audrey's room, I had a concealment ward active and Chloe was walking like she had suddenly become immortal. Inside, Audrey lay asleep in bed. The spirit beside her did not. It kept throwing itself at the sleeping body, only to get knocked back by some kind of barrier. Then it noticed us. Then it noticed Chloe. Then it flew at her. I kicked it into the wall. Chloe yelped and grabbed my arm.
What happened?
It tried to attack you.
Oh, great.
The ghost stared at me with wide eyes. You can see me?
Yes.
It's talking?
Chloe whispered. I sighed and pressed 2 fingers to Chloe's brow. Her sight opened. The second she saw the ghost, she started screaming. I slapped a hush charm over her throat before the noise got out. Now she was silent, still screaming, just silently. The ghost hovered at a safer distance and pointed frantically at Chloe. "It's me!" she cried. "I'm Audrey!" I took the hush charm off. Chloe gasped for air and immediately said,
No.
The ghost blinked. "What?"
No.
Chloe repeated.
Absolutely not. I'm not taking that at face value from a ghost.
The ghost looked offended, then desperate. And then she started listing childhood incidents so specific and petty that even I began to believe her. Candy fights at age 3, salt in the milk during a childhood sleepover, a stolen love note in middle school, water thrown in revenge. By the time she finished, Chloe looked deeply conflicted.
That's disturbingly convincing.
"I'm telling the truth," the ghost said, voice shaking. "The girl in that bed isn't me. It's Lydia Hart." And just like that, I knew. Not all of it, but enough. I checked the sleeping girl, then the ghost, then the line between them. There it was. A blood-red tether.
Body theft, right?
I said. The ghost nearly collapsed with relief. Chloe whipped around.
So she's telling the truth?
Yes.
The ghost laughed once. It sounded almost like breaking. "You believe me? I believe someone stole your life." That wasn't quite the same thing. She still looked grateful. Chloe crouched beside her, wide-eyed.
How does this even happen?
The answer was long and ugly. Lydia Hart had been a quiet classmate, forgettable, overlooked, the sort of girl no one expected to be dangerous because no one remembered to look at her long enough. According to Audrey, it began small. Disorientation, missing time, a feeling of wrongness. Then one day she woke up in Lydia's body. Lydia convinced her to stay quiet, promised to fix it, said panic would only make it worse. Audrey believed her. Then Audrey got accepted to Blackthorn. The next day, Lydia invited her over. After that, everything changed. Audrey overheard enough to understand the truth. Lydia had never been trying to fix anything. She had been finishing it. When Audrey confronted her, Lydia shoved her. She fell, hit her head, died, and woke up a ghost tethered to the body someone else was now wearing. "I watched her take everything," Audrey whispered. "My face, my home, my parents, my future." The room darkened as her grief sharpened. I hit her with a calming mark before she could turn into something worse. Chloe looked at me, then at Audrey, and then back at me.
Can you help her?
Yes.
Hope bloomed too quickly on both their faces, so I killed it immediately.
I can free her.
I said.
I can sever the right. I can make sure Lydia doesn't get to stay Audrey Sinclair, and I can help Audrey cross over.
Audrey's face fell.
But I can't put her back.
Silence. It lingered. Then Audrey asked, very quietly, "Why not?" "Because some magic destroys what it touches. Because some theft leaves nothing whole enough to return. Because death was not always negotiable."
Because it's already settled.
I said. She looked away. I let her. Then I grabbed Chloe's arm and headed for the balcony. Behind us, Audrey shouted, "Wait!"
We're coming back tomorrow,
I said.
Think about whether you want your parents to know the truth.
And then we jumped. Because yes, that was still faster than stairs. Chloe screamed the entire way down. Again. The next morning, Chloe burst into my room without knocking.
Lydia slipped,
She said.
just a little, but she slipped.
She paced while I drank tea.
I brought up things from school. Tiny things. Stuff Audrey should have remembered instantly. She covered well, but not perfectly. It's definitely her.
I nodded. That matched what I'd already felt. Chloe kept talking. Lydia had always been there in the background, she said. Same schools, same year, same orbit, quiet, plain, heavy in all the ways girls were punished for being heavy. Smart enough to survive, not exceptional enough to be admired.
And now she's stolen Audrey's whole life.
Chloe said.
Do people really get that desperate?
You nearly got yourself killed because your best friend resented you.
I said.
So yes.
That shut her up for almost 5 seconds. That night we went back. Audrey was waiting, calmer than before, sad in a way I didn't like looking at for too long. I want my mother to know, she said, even if it destroys her. I can't let that girl keep living in my house under my name. I nodded.
That means she'll see you.
I know.
And once she does, this ends.
Her throat moved. Good. Chloe asked the practical question.
What happens to Lydia?
I report everything.
I said.
The Bureau deals with the rest.
That wasn't the whole truth, but it was enough. We agreed to go on Saturday when both of Audrey's parents would be home. Then I went to bed and dreamed of red threads, hollow smiles, and the sound a mother makes when she realizes her daughter has already died. I woke up annoyed. I hate prophetic dreams. They never tell you anything useful in time. Saturday came cold and gray, a good day for endings. Chloe got us into the Sinclair house first. Then she pulled Victoria Sinclair aside before Lydia came home. To my surprise, Victoria listened. Really listened. Maybe because mothers know. Maybe because Audrey had been wrong for longer than anyone wanted to admit. Maybe because grief, once invited in, recognizes its own shape. Can she come back? Victoria asked. I didn't lie. Her face broke anyway. I stood there feeling about as useful as decorative furniture while Chloe took over and comforted her. I made a note to myself that for all her dramatics, Chloe was actually very good with people. Then Lydia came home. The second she saw us, suspicion flashed across her face. "What is she doing here?" she asked, looking at Chloe. Victoria spoke first. "Sit down, Audrey." Lydia froze at the name, then smiled, then sat. Poor choice. Victoria tried. She really did. She asked about school, about her slipping grades, about her distance, about the strange change in her. Lydia answered carefully. Too carefully. Like she had memorized someone else's life and was still afraid of getting the details wrong. Chloe naturally made it worse.
Funny,
She said brightly.
you used to be much better at school.
Lydia stiffened. Then Chloe brought up Lydia Hart, casually, maliciously, beautifully. And that was when panic finally flickered across Lydia's face. Good. I was getting tired of her composure. Lydia stood. "I'm not doing this." I caught her wrist before she got 2 steps. She snarled, "Let go." Instead, I dropped the veil. Audrey appeared. Victoria made a sound I will probably remember for the rest of my life. A sound no one should ever hear from their mother. Audrey reached for her. Her hands passed through air. Victoria cried harder. Lydia went white, then red, then desperate. "No," she said. "No, that's not real. Mom, that's not real. I'm Audrey. I'm right here." Audrey's entire face changed. Every bit of helpless grief burned off it at once. "Stop lying!" she snapped. "She knows!" For the first time, Lydia really looked at me. And for the first time, I saw calculation fail her. "So you figured it out," she said. "Yes." "And what now?" Then she smiled. Small, crooked, ugly. "I'm still Audrey Sinclair," she said. "I've been her for months. I live here, I go to her school, I wear her face. Doesn't that count for something?" No one answered. So Lydia did it herself. She started talking about envy, about hunger, about looking at Audrey and seeing everything she'd never get close to. Beauty, money, prestige, parents who adored her, a future made of polished certainty, then Blackthorn. That had been the breaking point, because Audrey got into the kind of world Lydia would never enter on her own. So Lydia took it. And once she had it, she couldn't bear to let go. I've met demons with more dignity. That was my life, Audrey shouted. Lydia laughed. And you would have survived in mine, she said. You're smart, pretty, people like you anywhere. Why not let me have something for once? Because it wasn't yours, I thought. Because theft doesn't become justice just because the thief is miserable. Because wanting is not the same thing as being owed. Then Lydia said the part that mattered most, the part that turned horror into proof. I didn't mean to kill you, she said. At first. Victoria crumpled. Audrey stopped moving. Lydia kept going. A push, a fall, blood, panic, then realization. No one knew, no one had seen. And if Audrey stayed gone, then the problem solved itself. The room went silent. Not quiet. Silent. The kind of silence that follows something unforgivable. Then Lydia ran. I dropped her to the floor before she made it to the door. She fought harder than I expected. Desperation always gives people ugly strength. I searched her and found the focus of the right hanging at her throat, a charm case containing a marked scrap and a lock of hair. There you are. Lydia twisted violently beneath me. You can't break it, she gasped. He said no one could. Interesting, but not my problem yet. I cut my finger, drew the countermark in blood, forced Lydia and Audrey into alignment, and slammed the working through both of them.
Break.
The tether snapped, not with sound, with force, a recoil through the room. Audrey stumbled backward, then drifted toward the doorway, farther than she had ever been able to go. When she turned back, she was crying. You did it. Lydia stared at her own hands, at her reflection, at the life she could no longer hide inside. Then she started screaming, not because she changed, because the lie did, and because now everyone could see it. I let Audrey speak to her parents before I performed the crossing over rite. It felt cruel not to, even for me. 2 weeks later, I was still uneasy. I sent the recovered focus to Sebastian Sterling, one of Rowena's former students, because if anyone besides her could identify the hand behind the working, it was him. He sent back nothing. Then Chloe showed up with a fresh disaster.
My fiancé's brother is cursed,
She said.
How do you know?
I don't, but it sounds expensive, so I thought of you.
Fair. That was how I ended up at a private hospital with Chloe and her fiancé, Julian Sterling. Julian cornered me in the hallway while Chloe was parking. He looked me over once and said with full sincerity,
Let me be clear. Chloe is the only woman I intend to marry.
I stared at him. He stared back. The silence stretched. Then I said,
Congratulations?
When Chloe came back, I repeated his exact words to her. Something in her face twitched. Violently, she dragged him away. When she returned, she sighed and said,
Please ignore Julian. He was born with money and no social instincts.
I nodded. That seemed likely. Then we went upstairs. The reward for fixing the patient had already reached 20 million. Interesting. The man had been fainting for weeks, Julian said. Then he fell into a coma. No medical explanation, no improvement, no answers. Very interesting. I stepped into the room, looked at the patient, backed out immediately, because the man in the hospital bed was Sebastian Sterling, and he was very obviously pretending. Once I got Chloe to leave with Julian, I shut the door, walked over to Sebastian's bed, and pinched his nose until he opened his eyes.
Really?
I asked. He smiled faintly.
Good to see you too, May.
What are you doing here?
That answer took a while. Apparently Sebastian was Julian's brother. Apparently the Sterlings and Whitmores had known each other for years. Apparently there had once been talk of some future family arrangement no one had bothered mentioning to me. I decided not to unpack any of that yet. I had more pressing concerns.
Why fake a coma?
Your notes reached Rowena.
He said.
She thinks the curses, the body theft right, all of it points back to someone she knew a long time ago.
An enemy.
Yes.
And?
And if he shows himself, she wants him.
That sounded like her. I folded my arms.
If I've already broken 2 of his workings, then he knows someone's interfering.
Sebastian grinned.
So we make it profitable.
He raised the reward, then raised it again. Fake mystics poured in. Frauds, con artists, desperate men with candles and no talent. Then, at 50 million, the real one came. A man in black, cold eyes, steady hands, the kind of presence that made a room feel diseased. The moment he reached for Sebastian, the temperature dropped. Then Rowena appeared. Not fully. A projection. A shaped presence. More than enough. No one spoke. They simply started trying to kill each other. I was already out in the hallway when the first wall cracked. Chloe stood beside me, staring through the shattered doorway like she'd just found religion.
Oh my God,
She whispered.
your mother is terrifying.
Yes,
When do you become that scary?
I may not.
That only seemed to impress her more. Inside the room, Sebastian had sensibly abandoned the bed and was hiding underneath it. By the time the fight ended, the hospital suite was wrecked. The black-robed man was bleeding badly, and Rowena hadn't so much as torn a sleeve. He fled through the ruined window. Rowena turned, looked directly at me, and smiled.
Live well, little Wren,
She said.
and call if you need me.
Then she was gone. Chloe slowly turned to me.
I'm obsessed with her.
That's reasonable.
After that, things settled. Not into peace. That would be asking too much. But into rhythm. I built a real client base among the rich and superstitious. Home wards, nursery protections, curse checks before weddings, cleansings after affairs. One woman paid me an absurd amount of money to energetically remove her ex-husband from a guest house in Connecticut. I did not ask follow-up questions. My restoration fund for Rowena's house kept growing. Chloe joined Richard's company, took over faster than anyone expected, and became exactly the kind of woman society loved to underestimate right before she ruined them. She also started programs for vulnerable girls. She said she wanted fewer Sabrinas, fewer Lydias, fewer women raised so close to hunger that envy became religion. I thought that was wise. Then, despite all evidence of poor judgment, she married Julian Sterling. The wedding was a spectacle. Perfect flowers, perfect lighting, perfect press. Chloe didn't cry. Julian did. Unfortunately, halfway through the ceremony, I felt something move behind her. A spirit. A nasty little thing wrapped in spite. I drew my blade and cut straight through the train of her couture gown to sever the tether before it could attach. Silk fell. Guests screamed. Julian looked like he might die. Chloe looked down at the ruined dress, then up at me, then sighed.
Necessary?
Yes.
She nodded once.
All right then.
Julian, however, demanded repayment. Naturally, so I told him to discuss it with Sebastian. That ended that. And if Rowena was right, if contentment wasn't about getting everything, but about knowing exactly what was worth keeping, then maybe I had done all right. I had my family, complicated, noisy, exhausting, imperfect, but mine. I had the forest. I had my work, and when the dead reached for the living, I knew exactly how to cut them loose.